Dan Lutz, and welcome to the latest broadcast in our effort to change the world into an abundance-based world, where we all are working together, because together we are strong. We have a exciting week. It's been forming up. I have not spoken to Tank today, so we're a little bit off track, because he's doing his pre-show before this show. He's doing the interviews of people live on the radio program. So this SpeakNet Speak Project. I should probably get that name down. I know it just changed over. It's no longer on the Blog Talk. It's under SpeakPro.net. I think is what it. Speak Pro Radio. That's it. Speak Pro Radio. And so actually, I did post the last two that he did on the YouTube channel just yesterday. So those are available for those that want to look through YouTube to find them. They're also available, of course, on projectspeak.net. You can find the archive shows there as well. All right. So I have not spoken to Tank today, and so I do not know what the updates are. So I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised as well to see how that's going. And I do want to do a slight review for the new people that are just joined us, which we are getting new subscribers every day. So it's a good thing. So they are joining us. Our numbers are growing. So all of you that are just joined, thank you for joining. I hope that this is going to enlighten you as to so the situations in the world as we're discovering and bringing things forward. The number one, how we kind of started with this broadcast. I've been broadcasting, for 3 years, and a lot of it was about cryptocurrency and things like that. But always the cabal was part of this backdrop. Another part of what I was covering was called the GCR, Global Currency Reset. I was involved in the global currency reset from the standpoint of the historical bonds. I participated by going to China and looking to take the mountain warehouses of bonds there and registering them into the GCR for the purpose of settling the old debts, balancing out the world system so that they could create a new economy. And everyone around me was a good guy, and these are high-level people throughout governments and banking and other notable people, politics. So it wasn't that this was something you were going to see on the news channels. This is something that was happening behind the scenes of the news channel, but pretty much in the open for anyone that was looking in. Millions of people actually got into it from the standpoint of currencies, the Iraqi dinar, Zimbabwe dollars, as something that would be revalued, meaning that it has a small value now, but when they revalue it would be so high, super high value, that you could become wealthy. And this is how they were going to kickstart the new world. And there was a lot of questions along the way about how this was occurred. But, I'm looking at the people involved. Everyone was on track to basically restart the world. The world was going to collapse. There's nothing to stop it because I know that we're dealing with a fiat money system. It always collapses. But a lot of things bothered me, some unanswered questions. I tried to figure out why this was occurring. The numbers never made any sense. And I've given this example several times about the, say you have $100 trillion Zimbabwe bill. It's one piece of paper 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. At the time when it was printed, it was needed because you needed to buy, dinner. It would cost you 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. So its value was very tiny. But they got to this point of printing these because its value was worthless. It was just paper. They just kept increasing the numbers on the bills. So they were now going to say this $100 trillion note was going to be worth 1-to-1. That was happening. That means I get one of these, I get 100 trillion US dollars after. Really? That's a pretty big number. I mean, it's way bigger than the national debt of America at the time, which was, I think it was 18 trillion or 15 trillion. I forgot what it was, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So why was this going to happen? It didn't, and not just, for one of these pieces of paper. What if you had 10 of them? They called it a quad of Zimbabwe money. Oh, okay, I've got a quad. Numbers just didn't make sense. The whole GNP of the world is 114 trillion in 1 year. So you get one of these pieces of paper, it's everything of the that was created in GNP of the whole world, right? They're same. Okay, well, there was other numbers thrown out. They said, okay, 16 cents per dollar. Okay, now you're not getting 100 trillion, you're getting 16 trillion for one. Okay, now you're getting down to where the national debt was, right? Pay off the national debt with one of these. And I said, okay, well, that didn't make any sense. Even if it was, down to, let's say, one penny per dollar. $1 trillion for every one of these. $1 billion for every one of these. $1 million for every one of these. Did that make any sense? I had to get $1 million for just one of these pieces of paper. Basically worth, a single dollar is now going to be worth $1 million. It's 1 million times increase. Not talking trillions or billions, 1 million. Would 1 million, does that seem feasible? Again, what if you had 10 of them? What if you had 100 of them? What if you had 1,000 of them? Many people I know had thousands of these. They were taking all their excess money and turning it over to get these pieces of paper for the future value that they'd be revalued at. Does it make any sense? You're going to be so wealthy. But what about the people that had, a pallet of this money? 100,000 pieces on a pallet. Are you now more wealthy? Are you wealthy compared to that one? What about the guy that had a container load? Yes, a full 40-foot container load of cash. Zimbabwe $100 trillion notes. Are you wealthy now compared to them? No. So there was an elite group within this group in the GCR, right? The generals of in countries, the presidents of countries, they had not one container, hundreds of containers. Are you wealthy compared to them? So if you then, did this GCR as said, and then everyone now had all of this one, let's say it was just worth $1 million for each one. And they ran out into the world and said, okay, I'm getting my airplane, I'm getting my house, all the luxury items, taking a vacation, so on and so on, just spending money, pushing money out. So what is going to happen when you're in an existing system that is debt-based? And now you have a bunch of currency. Now, in this existing system, debt is money. You're not creating debt. What happens to that system? That's another viewpoint. The current, now you're saying, it's asset backed now. So, well, there's going to be a transition. The asset-backed money, let's say that's now in existence, and you were actually paid with it. So what's going to happen to the existing system? No one wants that other money, and no one's going to create debt. All of a sudden, the system that's designed to and functions off of this, every breath, every heartbeat, pounds with debt. You rip out its heart, and you say, okay, 2 weeks later, we're going to get back to actually doing a transplant, and we're going to put in this. So where's the food going? Where's the gasoline? Where's everything to keep things rolling? Where's electricity? Does this make any sense? Superinflation. Now, I really never heard the idea until Tank revealed it, on my talking with him, and that it was really the depth at which that the sinister plan behind everything was. Didn't know. I mean, I heard the plans of depopulation. Right? I never really attached the idea that this super amount of money coming in was going to create the circumstance to depopulate. That I didn't put that together. I mean, I heard about it. I didn't know the agenda. I knew, that would be, a famine and disease and war. This would be like the major contributors to depopulation. Getting shots would be another. So this whole idea that was out there, I had no way of really associating, because I didn't see that connection. But Tank made that clear, and then I saw it. Right, it's the crash of the economy that gave the reason for the intervention from the UN. The crash of the economy I knew was coming. I didn't get and put it in the path. I could have easily put the pieces together if I just laid them down side by side and saw it, but I didn't see it until then. So this this agenda of that was behind this was something that I suspected that there was some bad process here. There was bad actors. There was something going on behind the scenes I couldn't quite peg, and I questioned it all along. I talked with my partners in this. Right, said, how does this work? How does this make sense? And then and I knew about the hierarchy of the banks, the bloodline families, and the control system, how the Vatican keyed into it, and the Pope and the Holy See, and the Merovingian bloodline, even to the point of the ancient races, the Anunnaki, what's happened in Samaria and Egypt, and I had all of that information. And I said, well, what we really need to do is create a new world, right? An abundance-based world. So my focus was more, how do I achieve that? So my focus on doing cryptocurrency came from the standpoint of saying, listen, the government's not involved and the banks are not involved. Big plus. We can do a medium of exchange, and we can work from there and build in our own environment, our own economy. So, but the GCR was also part of the things I was looking for. Taking the money from there. The project would be to, create this, help create an economy that was more based around an abundance thinking, a different mindset, not scarcity, not that there's a lack of anything, not the doom and gloom, but around the positive energy. So anyway, so getting back to how this program started coming together was really to start talking about how the GCR is a big lie. Not that there weren't real people involved with it of substance, around the world. And not that it wasn't going to happen, but that the behind the scenes real reasons and goals were not for the benefit of humanity, but for the benefit of the elite. In an agenda that would have ended in disaster for everybody. And this is hard for people to really grab hold of. Listen, as I said, I'm coming from a place where, if the GCR happened and there was all of everything that I put in place came about, I'd be one of the most richest men in the world, richer than any of the generals out there with 1,000 containers of currency. So it's not like I didn't have anything on the line to go and start looking at it from a different point of view. But when I saw something lining up last year was money flowing into the US Treasury, coinciding with what I was listening to coming from Thomas Williams. Now, I was watching him not through his People's Club broadcast, but through Lucid Dreamer that took his 3-hour segments and broke them into 20-minute chunks. I would have it on YouTube. Like I have YouTube on right here. Right? I was listening to Trump at a rally. So, I leave that stuff on the background while I'm working. And so I picked up on the information. I said, oh, that's interesting. They say that the trust, the Manna World Holding Trust, has moved money into the U.S. Treasury. And in my conversations with other people, I get some glimpse that something like that occurred, that it came from someplace, but the timing was lining up to the point where I was able to say, listen, let me actually ask the question as to where this money came from and give the name, and got confirmation about that. So, 2 of 3 transfers of last year, I had confirmation about. So that's surprising. The trust was also working with other people that I'm personally connected to. Now, I didn't know, at the time, because I didn't have the conversation with my people about this until probably towards September last year. Started talking about this, and then we kind of saw that there was some things happening prior that they were involved with. It was about the moving of money into the system from the trust. From with all the access codes were confirmed, they had the right access codes. But my partners on this were not in compliance with what they wanted to do. It was out of compliance, in other words. So they said they weren't going to get involved with it. So they didn't help. But that was other confirmation for me that there was something going on with the trust. And then it happened again. Another partner of mine that I actually traded TBC coin with, he was also involved with something. Was we were talking about the purchase of of banks and the setting up of these banks with, say, a cryptocurrency backbone. Not a currency. I should have said that, a blockchain backbone. Not cryptocurrency, but a blockchain for information moving from between the banks. There'd be the idea was to establish a network of banks to get to the unbanked. And these would be mostly in poorer countries. Not to say there wouldn't be some in the Western developed nations, but it would also, the focus was really on the unbanked. And the same ideas of how money was to come in. Now, this wasn't the only source of funds, but money coming in it seemed like it was coming from the trust, from what I knew from my other partner. So I asked the question in that direction: does this have to do with Manna World Holding Trust? And it came back that there was a money coming in that direction for this purpose. So again, I had this confirmation. This is when I said, okay, this is over the top now. I can see the way things are literally going is that that the trust is there. It's providing funds. They can pull down asset and turn it into cash. And the problem is that the system is saying no. They used to say yes, right? That's where the money came from. That's how money was created into the system. There was rules and put into place, right? All the laws and everything structured for how money was to flow in and how it was happen. Listen, once you know the rules, things are set in place. It's hard to get around those rules. Let's say you can't, but they didn't want to accept money coming from the trust, so they put up roadblocks. So this is what I'm observing towards the end of last year. And I'm saying there is something here. I really do not get it. I do not believe the agenda behind the GCR is for the betterment of mankind. I said, I have to really just start to, talk with my people and say, listen, there's something else that's going on here. We really have to realize that. So I was tapped into a Speak Project. I was watching that, and that's how I kind of I caught Tank's phone number that was posted there, and I just called him and started talking with him. So we did a kind of an interview on the broadcast just to get the information out there, and it felt like we needed to do more to really make a statement against the GCR, against what the global currency reset goals and intentions are. Not what the people's intentions are with their projects. That's not what we're saying. But behind the scenes, that it was part of a sinister plot put there by the bloodline families, or by however you wanted to put it, the cabal, the deep state. That this system put in place was going to flip itself and then put itself in a much better place than it was, because that's what they do. It's happened again and again. Would anyone end up with money at the end of the day? Let's say the GCR happened today. Obviously, it's happening today. And according to Restored Republic via the GCR and any other site out there or any other source, it's happening today. Well, the 15th was the last day, right? And for me, it's the 16th. So everyone should already have been paid out. 15th is towards the end of the day everywhere in the world. So this plan's bad intentions were obvious to me, and I needed to really make that statement. And Tank, was the one that actually started working with me to really, make that statement. Then we did a 2-week marathon. It has not ended. We're on, I don't know. We're probably, 3 months into it right now. It was supposed to be for 2 weeks straight every day. Basically, it was not really set a time, but it ended up being 2 to 3 hours every day. Sometimes we went over 3.5 hours, something like that. I think we had 4 hours one day, just talking about this. The GCR, The Big Lie. That was the title of the series. And it made an impact. It actually had an effect. Started seeing that there was actually things happening. TUI jumped in, third broadcast. Right? Wow. brought in what was going on with the Manna World Holding Trust in regards to the kingdom of Manna, what happened there. Another cabal plot to grab the asset. So these things were just being exposed and coming about. So we decided to keep rolling with it. Tank said until the money until the money actually hits, we do it every day. I went along with that. So we've been doing it every day. Vacation would be nice. Getting, but it's okay. Don't I'm not really complaining. It's just more of a joke. Um, you know, it has moved me off track of everything else I was working towards. And I appreciate those who are having patience with me on the other projects and things that I was working on for doing this, because I thought this was really the most important thing to get done. So it's expanding. We're continuing to build on what we've been doing here. Uh, the projects are being lined up inside Go Camelot. Tank is doing the interviews of the individual projects. While they start about at 8 o'clock, so we start this at 9, and so he'll be done, and he'll be jumping on here somewhere in towards the 9:30, 10. We'll see. It's a tendency, when you're doing these, they have a tendency to go longer than you think. So he's been jumping on after 2 hours, which is, again, it's understandable. So by 10 o'clock, the 2 hour block is over, and so he'll definitely probably be jumping on at any time between now and the next half hour. So, but this was why this is why we did this series. This is why it's kind of involved. We did and it became Dan plus Tank equals Dank Live, to get this information, to start coordinating it and getting it out there. One of the things that I was working on before really starting this, about a month before I started developing a website where we go all .love. That's wwg1wga.love, for the purpose of coordinating all the information and trying to put it in bite-sized chunks in different categories for the people out there about what's happening with the world, from basically defeating the deep state. How does that happen? The deep state is all pervasive government, and the only way for it to happen is by shining the light on it and waking up the people and moving forward. So that's why it was developing the site. And please go. The joining feature link is down below in the description. Please join us. I've had the first 2 people join. I believe it was yesterday, the day before, with payment, where it's the one. It's either $1.11 or $8.88. One did the, no, 2 did the $1.11. One did the $8.88, and I appreciate that. Now, on the 888, there is a link to be posted for jumping onto this broadcast. I actually posted that in the basic Telegram group for everyone, because there's so few people right now that have joined so far. So let's just say that we'll post it there for the moment. Let things build up a little bit, and then we'll move that link over for that. Just as and this is really just support for me to continue to work on these subjects, and that's I appreciate it. And also the people that were in the super chat the other day, that was surprised also. They're sending like $1 and $2 and $3. So that was amazing. So thank you very much for that as well. But because this is a this is a very big task, right? It's, I also said when I started doing these videos with Tank, these 2 or 3 hours straight in a row. I took like a nap afterwards for an hour or 2 hours. I normally don't take an afternoon nap for like that, but it now became kind of a habit, and I'm almost have to. But actually, it's kind of ended. I don't. I think my body has adjusted to the stamina of this, and I'm not really taking the naps now for the last week, I'd say. But I do. Yeah. Anyway, I do appreciate everyone for joining. But anyway, this is how we got into what we're doing here. We were getting TUI's coming in and giving updates how amazing things happening in Fiji. So TUI basically is kind of I call him like the high priest type of. So I don't think that's an official title, but in all the chiefs, he's more about the heart and the spirit of Fiji, and so they're coordinating. They're in the process of removing the existing government. The 72 chiefs of Fiji are in control of the military, which is unusual for a lot of countries, right? It's the chiefs that are in control of the armed forces, and the government is not. So it's interesting, that's so that gives them the ability. They also, Fiji has the people owning the land. Now, this is more unusual than some people might think, especially when, let's say, you're in America and been paying your mortgage for 30 years and finally get it, and that you have title to your home. Title is not ownership. Title is right to use. If you're paying tax on property, you don't own it. That is a rental fee. It goes very deep on that, so let's not go down that road. But so the people of Fiji, though, own the land, they own the military, so they have say, and they are looking at accepting sovereignty from the trust, Kim, and accepting also the assets that are allotted to Fiji that were taken away by the existing system that was put into place. So the Manna World Holding Trust is formerly known as the Dragon Family Trust, also known as the unknown country in the banking term. So when money comes from the unknown country, it would come from there. So this is how asset was brought into the system, right? And allocation numbers were then given to create cash. So, but all the asset was put into or registered to. If you register something, please know that you're turning over ownership of. If you register yourself somewhere, you're giving yourself. So keep that in mind. Putting yourself on a list, making a record of who's on the list, is not being registered. When you register your car, what are you doing? The ownership is now moved to the list of assets of the regal, the reg, the regis, the royalty, the royal list of assets. So, all right. Well, let's see, where was I going? Sorry. Oh, I've talked 37 minutes. There we go. I get down a road, and then it's like, okay, where was I going on this one? Well, let's just say we were talking about our what was going on in Fiji and registering the land, things of that nature. So in Fiji, the land is owned by the people, and because of that, they are able to really have power. So they're ready to accept their sovereignty and get their money from the trust that was registered to it prior. So this is all that's happening now in the last 3 months. So one in the joining page for where we go when we go all.love, wwg1wga.love. On the join page, there's a place where it asks you to send a message, send an email. Right. So this is a way to establish communication because I know there's ways that things end up in spam. So these are just techniques to help that process. But some of the emails that are getting somewhere, they're saying they appreciate this so much. They say, "Don't stop." I appreciate that. And I appreciate your the emails. Now, if you wrote me a really long email, it might take some time before I get to it. So just be aware. I will reply. Uh, it may not be a long reply, but I may I may be able to get to that maybe even later today. Just clearing things off the desk, so to speak. I still got a blog that I put off another 2 days that I haven't finished. So I need to finish that, then I'll get to those emails. But I do appreciate the efforts that people are listing out things of what they need and how they can see they can help. So those things are all very wonderful. There's a lot of coordination that needs to happen, and our friends in Russia that are working towards having access to the funds and what they want to do in their projects. That they've been along the lines of doing their planning to free energy devices that people are talking about. So there's so much stuff that is all coming together. It takes a lot of effort to keep pushing. So I'm doing my best to keep pushing. So thank you for yeah, your kind words that you've been giving me. And I'm sure Tank also appreciates it. So okay, let me switch over to a couple things. And I've lined up some quick news items. I we could listen to Trump at the rally, but I didn't get to. I was in the middle of listening and I just didn't change it. But I do have some things lined up. So let me switch my screen over here. Now, this is coming from Wasabi Ginger. She sent me this morning, and I'm not going to go into too much about listening to a lot of it. I'm just going to talk about it. So this is a reality check, episode 1, about Corey Good and David Wilcock. Now I want to just say that I've listened to David Wilcox off and on, and whenever Corey Good would come on, I'd listen to the stories, and I found all the information fascinating, and I really didn't know where to go with it. Now I also watched Stephen Greer, and sometimes David Wilcock would be lined up with Stephen Greer, and they talk about the disclosure process, and then I know that there was some controversy that happened. And this controversy happened about, maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. And I said, and this was about Gaia, the Gaia TV. And David Wilcox was talking about how there was a separation, but there was these implications that Gaia was part of the cabal, and it was part of the cabal plot, and so on. So I was like, well, that's all very interesting. Now, I really was not, I didn't participate in too much of Gaia TV. Of course, I went to the website a couple of times, but I catch things mostly on YouTube from people that were talking about different things. And I must say that one of David Wilcock's main informants from the main insiders, is someone that I knew. And I knew him to be legitimately part of uh, the, the think tank. And I'll put it that way, part of the inventors. And that was Pete Peterson. I knew Pete from the time of my Amiga days, Amiga computer systems. I was actually buying the Amiga computer system. Used to originally was owned by Commodore. Commodore went bankrupt and ended up went through a couple of hands, ended up in Gateway's hands, and I was buying it from Gateway. This is back in 1999 time frame. Never didn't get it to Gateway Insiders, ended up buying it out from underneath me, and that all went in a different direction. But at that time, uh, Pete Peterson would, he was an Amiga file, and so we had a lot to talk about Amigas, and on. And I knew that Pete was a smart guy, and we had very interesting conversations. And he'd come by and we talked over a couple of years. I knew him. Wasn't a big friend of mine, but we had enjoyed talking about things, and whenever he'd come by. But on the last day that he was in California, he came by my office, and he said, now I knew that he worked at Skunk Works, not really because he came out and said it in so many words. I kind of found out what I was working on ended up being something that a lot of black ops companies needed. The new Amiga. I didn't really realize when I first was dealing with this that Amiga was really used as a secret military platform. It was the owners of Commodore were the dead relatives of Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon controlled the trust out of the Bahamas. The Bahamas were is a way that you could hide ownership. So the people that were like part of the corporate structure of Commodore were also White House cronies such as Alexander Haig, for example, were part of Commodore. So this was this secret military platform pushed out into things, and quite frankly, the stuff that was put out on the Windows machines and even Macintosh were so far behind what the Amiga was when it first came out. The Amiga hit the market 1 month before the Macintosh. 4,000 color animated screens, stereo sound, preemptive multitasking environment, really much more advanced. Decentralized processing was inherent in its architecture. Everything today is centralized to this date. Pyramid structures, they like that centralization, right? I'm not a cabal member because I do that. I'm just demonstrating, just for those people out there that make comments. Oh, look, he made the symbol of a cabal. I'm sorry, but I'm just demonstrating a pyramid structure. I'm not doing some sleight of hand to pass out some information, let people know. Okay, sorry, Kent Dunn. That wasn't not a cabal member. So anyway, so let's go. So Pete was there, this last day. Let me go back to Pete. So Pete was leaving, and they said they're evacuating California. He works at Skunk Works, which is a subterranean, experimental lab and facilities out in the deserts north of Los Angeles. They had tunnels that would go 30 miles out to Edwards Air Force Base, right? That you could pass a 747 through. This is not some small facility. This is a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar system. And when he stops by, and it's his last day, he says, he's all packed up. He stopped on I'm literally his last stop before leaving. And he says, we're evacuating California. Now, I pushed him for more information. He wouldn't say anything. All he said was, we're evacuating California. Now we had some conversation and things like that, but he also showed me at that time something I'd never seen before, but I knew was being worked on, and that was a holographic processor. He showed me how, an example of how it was working right live. I actually held it and I used a laser to pump a program into it and saw it, pushing out code on the other end. So I know that Pete is a real guy. End up later knowing that he knew my friend who was in the CIA that ended up passing away, who was also getting into the GCR stuff and was kicked out of it. Shock to both of us that we knew Pete. When we both realized that, it was like one of those wow moments. I mean, we were both pinching each other for a good day about that, because it was so out of the ordinary for us to really have that overlap. So anyway, my point is that I know that Pete Peterson is real. So when I heard David Wilcock using Pete as a reference, David Wilcock now had credibility to me. So when David Wilcock brought Corey Good out and started talking about this, I listened, and I was now when I first saw Corey there in doing those interviews, that he always seemed to be like not wanting to talk, not wanting to say anything. And when he spoke, it was fairly brief and really had kind of a strangeness to it. But I gave it credibility because David is bringing it. But I'm listening. So when I get this controversy that starts brewing with Gaia, and that they're talking about this, the cabal is in control of Gaia. I really, didn't know what to think. Okay, well, maybe that's true. That the cabal is in control of that, and they're getting that information out. And so I'm just again watching, but I'm listening to the story evolve with Corey and what's supposedly happening with him. And I also heard these references though from Thomas Williams about the blue chicken cult. I'm going, okay, I know he means the blue avians, and I said, okay, so he's starting. He was making like a religion about the blue avians, and I really, I didn't understand how much depth there was in that statement that Thomas was putting out there, really downplaying the blue chicken cult. I will tell you that now, after I've watched these videos that I was just pointing out, I'll put it back up here. After I've watched these videos, there was actually I watched one and just about 20 minutes of another. This is an hour and 17 minutes. There's three parts that so I got all three of them today. I got one, and then two more popped up. Ginger sent me two. She said, "Oh, this just appeared." Got two more. So after listening to now, this is one of the producers. He's a content producer. He's I'm not sorry, not wrong words. He's the technical producer. How to make the shows. The guy on the left. So he's really talking about how his interaction with Corey has been. And really, it comes down to he doesn't believe Corey Good is real. And it's questionable whether David Wilcock knows it or not. That's what the whole thing is. Now, this guy seems credible to me, and I'm going to kind of like side on this guy's side for things because it just rings better than what I've been watching out of David and Corey. So that's and I'm not going to. I can play a few seconds here just to see. Oh, it's muted.
Set opinions aside as two people from one's opposite sides open up a dialogue to help the ufological community come together in support of apologies. To possibly mend some bridges and understand healing comes from acceptance and forgiveness. We grow by holding space and then critically thinking for ourselves what each of us choose to believe. Changing one's mind about a belief, in my opinion, should be supported. And
well, just think about it. Changing one's mind. I changed my mind about the GCR. I just thought I'd throw that out there. So anyway, it should be supported, right? So when you change your mind, you're in the GCR. Just think about that. You need to have support. We're here to support you.
Absolutely, it should be heard. And apologies are a definite start. So with that said, it is time for a reality check with the producer of Deep Space and Cosmic Disclosure, among many other programs and movies, Mr. Jay Widener. Hello, Jay.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Yeah.
I think a bunch of people just flopped over as they opened up this video, right? Yes. So here we are.
Yes. Well, I'd like to say something to begin with also, and that is that this is, I guess, a message to really YouTube and the people that run YouTube. Our intention is not to be vindictive here or to run somebody down. We're not going to name anybody's full name that isn't a public figure. The public figures that we will talk about and will address with their full name both have TV shows. One has several best-selling books. They all appear at conferences and on documentaries. So they're public figures, and we have the right to comment about what a public figure is saying and doing. And so I just want to clear that up before we begin. We're not here to be vindictive. We're here to help elucidate what is going on in this situation.
Right, and any intimidation, threats, harassment, gang stalking, cyberbullying, and anything else on top of that, anything received on my end will be reported immediately to any and all authorities, including the FBI.
Anyway, so we'll just end it there. I just wanted to give kind of a little brief, so you can hear what they're starting to talk about. And really, what they're starting to go through the things that are being thrown at them, and showing it to everyone, and say, "Listen, this is what's being said about us, and this is what we've said, and now let's clarify." Because they're and the things that they're bringing out, and that now, because when you start throwing mud around, right, you're going to get dirty. So, but when everything comes out in the wash, certain things, end up being stained. And after listening to what they had to say, I would say that Corey Goode is definitely stained from this, in my point of view. Though I enjoyed the information that I heard, I always questioned, a lot of it, but I wasn't discounting it. Now I have to really look at, this may be something that is information that comes from elsewhere and been repackaged by Corey. Maybe that's what's going on. So maybe the information is not faulty, but the messenger is. But anyway, it's for everyone to decide on their own. You can look in to these videos. I'll go ahead and put them down here. Actually, while we're talking, I'm going to go ahead and grab the share on this, and I will go ahead and put that up on my. I'll put it in the comments below, the comment section of our video, because I know that will hang out. That will be there. I don't know if I put it in the chat, if it'll actually stay. And I'll try it in the chat, see what happens. So that's the video I was just watching, so everyone that knows. And we've got 157 people watching. Hello, everyone. 53 likes. Hit the like. I'll go through and I'll check out questions as well in a bit. we're also getting close to 10 o'clock. We'll see maybe if Tank is going to be joining us. Probably another one is ending by now. Might need a few minutes afterwards, but we'll see. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure to bring this up so that people would know that this I think is a fairly important piece of information, because they're talking about the secret space program, which is real. They talk about the alien disclosure, which is real. And if the messengers are tainted, it actually hurts the effort. So let's not dwell too much on it. I just want to say now I understand why Thomas Williams says blue chicken cult. I get it that there is something that is forming there. Now I can be wrong about this, and if so, I apologize to Corey. But it's not looking so good. From this information that they're reading this to this, and they're making sense. And so I just put it out there like that. Now, as I said, Pete Peterson, I know is legitimate. So David, I don't know how deep David is on one side or the other from it, but I don't think that's looking so good. It also puts a black eye on Gaia, and I'm not, I'm not discounting Gaia. I'm not saying they're part of the cabal. I'm saying that when you have a controversy like this and you have a program that was put out there, then it's okay to put out information that you think is correct, or the messengers that you think are legitimate. It's okay. Things happen and you end up changing your mind, which you're allowed to change your mind, as I did on the GCR. It's just, we need to be open to these things. So anyway, that's why I wanted to bring this up. It is, I think, a major piece in this puzzle that we're trying to bring about, because it all talks about these things, whether it's mass arrests and the removal of the deep state actors, the bad actors. It gets into that, and that's part of what we're all talking about, is how do you defeat the cabal? How do you remove them and all their tentacles from the system? Let me talk about part of that. I have something else queued up. Moment here. Okay. I'll share my screen and talk about removing the tentacles. Now here we have Lindsey Graham with new legislation that he's putting out. I'm only going to play a few minutes of this, but Lindsey Graham has been a real champion. And this is a new front that's just happening right now.
So this legislation is going to deal with the problem that Mr. Saunders is about to describe. I do 4 things that are required to stop this humanitarian crisis and threat to our sovereignty. In the future, you can apply for asylum from Central America, but you have to do so in an American consulate or embassy in your home country. We're going to try to set up a facility in Mexico. No more asylum claims at the U.S. border if you're from Central America. If you're an unaccompanied minor, we're going to change the law to allow the minor to be sent back to their home country in a safe and secure fashion, as if the minor child was from Mexico or Canada. There's a loophole in our law that we're going to close. Instead of having 20 days to process a family with a minor child, we're going to increase it to 100 days so that the family can be detained humanely and we can get the claim processed and not have to release them into the country. We're going to hire 500 new immigration judges to deal with a 900,000 person asylum backlog to clear the backlog. If we'll do these 4 things, then the incentives that's created by our laws will cease to exist. This humanitarian disaster will begin to repair itself. And I'm willing to sit down with Democrats to find a way to address the underlying problem in Central America. I'm willing to put other immigration ideas on the table to marry up with this. But what I'm not willing to do is to ignore this problem any longer.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. That is such an important thing to happen. To actually have Congress start to address the problems. They're not solving problems. They're all just talking about this Russian collusion still. Right? And now it's moved way beyond that. Now I've been listening to the stuff about the Brennan and Clapper and Comey, and it's looking bad for all 3 of them. Brennan is definitely in the crosshairs. Now it's like the comment is, who's going to pay the Barr bill? Like William Barr. Yeah, who's going to pay the Barr bill? All right. So Barr is going to be, he's appointed someone to look into just how this all got started. Now they're going to be running for the hills. Now they're all still trying to figure out how they're going to weasel out of this, but all 3 of them are going to go down. So that's also very important. But I didn't get into anything in specific yet that I'd like to present and talk about. But we know that this is unfolding, and then they're going full barrel. There we go with the immigration with Lindsey Graham. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for lining that up. So there is a I do have this. There is something. Now, this has actually happened from 2 days ago, but I think I saw it two evenings ago. This is really about the situation.
All right, joining me now with reaction, former U.S. Attorney Joe DeGeneva, House Oversight Committee Ranking Member Jim Jordan, and former Deputy Independent Counsel Robert Ray. Doesn't get better than this tonight. Joe, what does the impressive scope of this new probe initiated by Barr tell us tonight?
James Comey, Brennan, and Clapper have said to themselves, which one of us is going to pay the Barr bill? The Barr bill is coming due, and Durham's appointment means that the already occurred meetings between the Attorney General, the CIA Director, and the Director of National Intelligence have now focused on a laser that the core of this conspiracy began with John Brennan and ends with John Brennan in London and D.C. and the Democratic National Committee. This is very serious business, and for the first time, I now believe that some of these guys are going to go to prison.
Wow. You mentioned Brennan tonight, and Congressman Jordan, we got some profound sound from both Brennan and Clapper. This was Brennan today explaining what's going on with it.
Well, we don't really need to go into that, as he's just squirming and saying, well, we got permission from the FISA court. He's trying to pass the buck to the FISA court. Well, who provided the FISA court the information? Right? So this is why this is going to be unfolding right all at the same time. It's like full barrel. Q said that this is the month that they're going on the offensive. So things are rolling right now. Just in case Tank was trying to reach in. No, not yet. I just want to make sure. Because before he was sending a message, he wasn't able to log in. I said, well, and I had to call him. All right, so, all right, this information that's out there for, let's say let me rephrase that. the information that came together in the Steele dossier was used, but it was fabricated. It was fabricated as a way to cover up the fact that they were already spying on Trump under the Hammer program. So they needed to come up with something fast because it was already the information was already put out there in Operation Freedom, which we covered yesterday with David Jan. That information came out from a credible source, and it started them panicking. They quickly put together the dossier, and they put it there as the evidence as to the reason why spying could occur from that point forward. But what happened before? That was completely illegal. There was no FISA. And who was it responsible? Brennan, Comey, Clapper. Obama, who was responsible? So these things are all brewing and happening right now. And it doesn't matter what they have to say anymore because they've been saying the same stuff. If you want to see them squirm, go ahead, turn on the program and you can see them. But when you're hearing from credible people now that these people are going to go to jail, if it's treason, it's a little bit more stronger than just jail. Remember, they were trying to outlaw lynching, hanging. So why were they concerned? All of a sudden, this was really a big problem, lynching? Really? All of a sudden, we got to outlaw this. Maybe they were just feeling a little bit of pressure. All right. Well, I've got a couple of more things I want to cover. This was also something that was sent to me. Now I'm going to talk about this and reference some things. Now, this gentleman is a former star in Hollywood, right? Dead. Forced himself off a bridge. Now, if you've been following any of the, kiddie pokers out there that have been going out, I'm coming up with obvious other names so that the black marks don't come up against the video. But he was telling people about the kiddie pokers in Hollywood and what the horrible things that were going on, the cages that they were kept in, laughingly. So he exposed all this. Now he ends up jumping off of a bridge. Kind of people try to talk him down. He was giving some ramblings about things, but I would say this is something that may have been where he was put into a mental condition by some things to cause his self-destruction. Some sort of targeted weapon that could cause this. Now, this is just complete guessing on my part. I just find it suspicious that he's one of the Hollywood group that broke ranks, right? He probably had a very big impact on a lot of people because he comes from Hollywood, and he was saying this is the bad stuff that's happening. And then he's talking conspiracy theories and decides to jump off of a bridge. So makes the whole argument look bad. We know that there's a big change coming, and I was actually considering not even talking about that because it really just sets a very negative tone. I decided, it's worth at least bringing this up because he did make a contribution, and God rest his soul. That he did turn the spotlight on, and those cockroaches went running. And so this is a major cleanup event that's happening. We all want it to happen quickly. I know Tank wants it like done today. I appreciate that, but I see it's unfolding, and I'm happy that it is. I want it to go as fast as possible, and the faster that we come together and stand up, the faster it will happen. So it is up to us. Not just about this one type of issue, but it's everything that we're involved with, everything that we're focused on. And, again, I could be wrong about Corey. It just, where things tend to lead. What we do know is that there's a lot of events that are going on in the world, and there's going to be a lot of subterfuge trying to get the narrative changed, a little nudged this way. And all we can do is our best to try and figure it out. Really. What is the best that we're going to be able to do to get these things to happen, where the time spent in getting rid of the cabal's deep tentacles has been reduced. And it really, as I said, it just depends on us coming together, which we're doing. The faster we do it, the more you take action, the more when you're out there on the wrong side of things, staying on the wrong side of things makes a difference. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to go through a process of figuring it out. But try to move faster. Try to deal with your issues about things. If you're dealing on the GCR side, try to deal with it quickly. Don't put it off. Make your decision today. Do it now. Flip. You're stopping things from moving forward. Get out of the way. You're a decision maker. This is the time to move to the other side. Look at Lindsey. Lindsey Graham is now out there champion. All these good wishes towards him because he's helping at this point. Whatever the blackmail was that John McCain had over him is now gone. Lindsey's protected, and he's acting in a very positive way. I remember when I followed politics my whole life. I was, 10 years old. I was in listening to politics. I was a crazy little kid. But I know Lindsey Graham first started, and I listened and I said, "Oh, I like what this guy says." Right? I saw him here and there, and I'd make my personal judgments along the way. And then I also know when he just, voted the wrong way. So what's up with him? Well, I mean, this is important. But now he's flipped, and my attitude about him is now completely flipped. I see what he's doing. He's taking action. He's got 4 steps to go through right now on a very important issue at a very important time, and he is pushing. You push. You do what you can. Make things turn out to be better for all of us. All right. I got one more for you. Guess what? We've been doing this for now a little bit. We're just, but since it's continuing, I'm going to continue it. Our favorite, Restored Republic via the GCR has made another posting. So this is Restored Republic via the GCR update as of May 15th. Now this is the special day that they were talking about, right? And everything was to happen May 15th, right? It was posted on 2 Neotech. All right, we're gonna go through it. 9 minutes and 5 seconds.
Judy note. The RV began in Singapore 9 p.m. East May 13th and paymasters were expected to be paid by tomorrow afternoon May 15th, after which the Tier 4B Internet Group would receive the 800 numbers to make currency exchanges and ZIM bond redemption appointments. A. May 14th, 2019 The Big Call, Bruce, TheBigCall.net, 71277040016 pin 123456 1. The RV was expected to happen within the next 24 hours or so. 2. 15 currencies would revalue during the global currency reset. 3. The rupiah, dinar, dong, and ZIM bond were going up in value. 4. Those currency holders in groups were told what the value of their currency exchange would be and were given SKRs to that effect. Those SKRs.
They were giving SKRs, safekeeping receipts. Why not give them money? Isn't that what this is all about? Why are they getting SKRs? What is SKRs for? Safekeeping receipt of an asset. What asset do they have? Is it the bonds? And are they registering them? Turning over the ownership.
SKRs would be made liquid the same time as the GCR. 5. Tier 1 government, Tier 2 higher owners, Tier 3 humanitarian groups, Tier 4A and Tier 4B, the Internet Group. 6. The Tier 4A group.
Well, just again, it was like, why did Tier 4 get split up? Why is this, another, when this first started, as far as I know, there was only 3 tiers. The 4th tier came from somewhere, and I went, well, okay, I'm getting paid on Tier 3, somewhat maybe on certain things. There were certain things happening. There were some Tier 2 money was flowing in through Rodriguez, but that changed also. So the levels kept being pushed around. Why? You mean that they didn't know what they were doing? They didn't have a plan? Plan keeps changing? All right, we'll continue.
Started in Singapore 9 p.m. East last night, May 13th. 7. Paperwork for the core paymasters groups and group paymasters were finishing up today, May 14th, and would be paid out tomorrow, May 15th. 8. We would receive the 800 numbers after they were paid tomorrow, May 15th. 9. Certain currencies have been trading up and the rates were very favorable for us in the Internet Group. Those rates would be negotiable. 10. If you have more than 500 trillion ZIM notes, you would be limited as to what rate you could negotiate. Plus,
if you have more than 500 billion. Well, here's something else. It was my understanding from the very beginning that the 50 trillion and the 100 trillion notes were actually going to be exchanged. That was what was happening. None of the smaller notes. Now, I found that strange anyway, but okay. Anyway, we'll continue.
us would be offered only the front screen rate on your currencies. 11. You need to have a figure in mind of how much you need for your humanitarian project. 12.
So you have to have a figure in mind for your humanitarian program. Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. The system, as I've been describing to you, works off of humanitarian projects. You take your project as a country, go to the World Bank, you give them the project, they assign a number. That is the official number in which you can get traded. Is that an idea Is there an idea that gets stamped a number? No. So if you go there with an idea of how much money you need for a project, that means you don't even have a project. So is this real? There are a lot of projects out there that can use money, no doubt. And there's a lot of people that have great ideas. But the system works where there is a project number. If you don't have a project number, where is that money going to go? Is it going to go into your project? No, it's not. Here's another thing. If they're exchanging, let's say that you had, money from, just say your British pounds, and you were going into the U.S. and you wanted to go and exchange them, and then get U.S. dollars at the airport. Would they ask you for your project number so they can apply the money towards your project? If you're exchanging currency, why do you need a project number? Why do you need to have an idea how much you need to do for a humanitarian project? Now, listen, I know that there's these questions have been asked and answered over and over again, but they tell you that those answers shift around. Year by year, they change over time. It's not legitimate, not real. These things make no sense.
There are 7,000 redemption centers in North America. 13. The decision was made today at 2 p.m. May 14th to include 5,000 more Tier 1 and Tier 2 redemption centers in the exchanges, including banks that could redeem ZIM. 14. At midnight tonight East May the 14th to the 15th, the US will be going back to the gold standard. 15. The cash we get at our redemption will be in new US notes, $50 to $100 bill.
So new US notes, debt instruments. What's that have to do with the gold backing? If they're backed by gold, why is there a note?
16. You will be given a credit card at your redemption that could be used immediately.
Well, there's the debt. Here, use a credit card, not a debit card. Here's a credit card.
17. You can also have some cashier checks made up and bank wires done at your redemption. B. May 14th, 2019 Coffee with Marks and Friends Tuesday Q&A www.dinnerrecaps.com web link www.pscp.tv web link www.twitch.tv web link. Marked disclaimer. Please consider everything on this call as my opinion. People who take notes do not catch everything, and it's best to watch the videos so that you get everything in context. Be sure to consult a professional for any financial decisions. 1. We may be at the banks on or before Thursday, May 16th. 2. Based on a bond agent in Asia, I do not think Tier 4A has started yet. Many think it would start later on this afternoon, Tuesday, May 14th. All of Tier 3 has not been paid yet. 3. My folks in Switzerland have an appointment Thursday, May 16th morning, their time to start processing historic bonds. 4. A Forex person I know thinks we would see the rates on Wednesday night, May 15th, or Thursday morning, May 16th. 5. Bankers still seem to think we would see it this afternoon, Tuesday, May 14th. They tell me they have been shooting for Tuesday afternoon since last week. 6. Whales have not been paid yet. They were told it would happen this week. 7. Filming Junior. From the meetings that took place in Hong Kong, there were things that were happening in HSBC in New York to get this started. The elders and treasury were at HSBC in New York. That was all I could say. 8. The elders went to DC, to Reno, and now to New York. 9. Eagle 1 2025, HSBC New York meetings were going well. The meetings should be done by 3 p.m. East today, Tuesday, May 14th. 10. There were still people waiting in Reno. This was a fluid situation, and it's constantly changing until they finally get it out the door. They were trying very hard to get Tier 4A finished to get to Tier Group 4B, which was you, the Internet group. All we could do was repeat what we were told. 11. China dumping the bonds at a fire sale would be a good time to RV. www.scmp.com web link. C. May 14, 2019 Intel Alert, Operation Disclosure, GCR, RV Intel Alert for May 14, 2019 Operation Disclosure, Disclaimer. The following is an overview of the current situation of the world based on intelligence received from several sources which may or may not be accurate or truthful. 1. The Alliance was expected to give permission to release revolutionary technologies very soon, technologies that were created decades ago. 2.
So, how often have they been given permission to release the information? So, there's also, this gets back to David Wilcock and Corey Good on this secret space program. But there was two sides to it at that point, and I do see that there could be two sides, and people with a good goal in mind, and then others that don't have a good goal in the secret space program. But we shall see if they end up coming about with any new technologies. But they've been saying this again. But where's this new technology? Tank, did you join?
I did. I'm here.
Oh, okay.
A little bit of echo there, but yeah.
Okay. Man. I was just going through the Restored Republic via GCR, the new one as of May 15th. Can you guess what happened?
It didn't happen?
No, it did not happen.
What is going on? Well,
no, they said it happened. It's underway right now.
It's the soft rollout that started a week ago, right?
Yeah, and it's still rolling. Right?
Soft rollout. A soft rollout. I have a horrible thing to say, which I won't. But soft rollout is much like impotence. It's much like impotence. It is equally as effective at creating and reproducing itself as an impotent man. It just doesn't quite get the job done. Sorry. The soft rollout will never come. It'll never come. Just say. Okay, that was a horrible joke, so my sons would have been laughing their butt off about.
Yeah. I'm already laughing, right? Soft rollout and impotence. Got it. All right. Well, so I haven't been able to reach you, so I thought maybe they may have picked you up and taken you away. I started to get a little worried.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's a pretty incredibly electric, energetic time, right? Yeah. I'm sure people can feel that out there right now because, I was just interviewing my very good friend David Hayden, who invented the cloud, and had this horrible experience with he had a stroke about a year and a half ago and fell down into a ravine and got stung up by bees, and then had to be his dog saved his life. And it's amazing, he's always been such a grizzled, son of a bitch, like just that. I mean, I'm saying that intentionally to be dramatic because that's kind of how he was, and I loved him, right? And we got along great. But everyone else, whoever did business with him, they hated him because he was just so precise and meticulous about everything he wanted done, and he wouldn't compromise. And it's so amazing just listening to him now. He's just so humbled and so sweet. And he always had that side to him, but hardly anyone ever saw it. So I was very appreciative to kind of hear him talk that way, right? And it's such a sign of the times to me. We're in a time where, we can put away that hateful energy and that, the get even mentality and all those things. And we can open up, and we can allow ourselves to trust again, allow ourselves to love again, right?
Yes, indeed.
I'm excited about it. Oh, speaking of love, listen, Tui, I'm just telling you, I'm on a tear today. I raised 2 people from the dead just by talking about life. I was just talking about love, and you showed up. I'm on fire right now, people. You should listen to what I'm saying. I'm just put it out there.
Yes, indeed.
Go ahead, man. Talk.
No, it sounds really good. Sounds good, man. I'm very I'm honored, and I'm full of joy for today and everything that is happening. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you so much. First, I just want to say thank you to everyone on the live chat and everyone watching live today, and watching maybe later in the future. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being here with us and being with us in this moment, this exact moment that is the only thing that is real. And tomorrow and everything else will come to this moment, and that's how this reality works. And in order for us to create a new, that's what we do. Thank you have explained it and the way it's, I can't explain it any better. And that's how the new future will have to be, and that's how healing has to happen. That's how it has to happen to in everyone individually, and then as a relationship around you, as people, as the Bible say, your neighbor, or the people that you are living with, or wherever you may be. And then as it grows up into a very big a community, and then a whole nation, and that's that's what this time is for, the healing of the planet. And I'm very thankful and very fortunate and blessed that I'm here with you guys and with everyone. Yeah, today there's just like I was saying yesterday, we have all the people that went on strike last week, the 2,900 people it was, that lost their job, and they are joining us here today, and they're learning about the changes. And there was a news in Fiji yesterday. It was mentioned in Parliament. Now they finally can admit in Parliament that there's no more money coming from the financial institution, the big financial institution. So our Attorney General was able to mention it in Parliament, and everyone was listening to it. So they came back this morning and they said, "Oh, now they actually saying that there's no money, and that's why everything that people are facing right now in the country is what it is right now because of the it's not an economic local crisis in Fiji, but it's all around the world." And so for them to admit that, it's a very big step, and it will give us a chance to come there and we heal ourselves. No more pointing fingers and no more fighting. It's time for us to heal ourselves, each other, and love. The most. The Bible says, no matter how much power you have and all these things, you may have all the strength in the world and all that, but you don't have love.
Have not
It is
love.
meaningless.
They are like
It
a
is not.
sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal.
Yeah. If you can, yes, that's right. If you can speak all the languages and you can speak to the angels and all these things, but you don't have love. You just, just like a tinkling of an empty bell, which means nothing, and which is meaningless. And that's what we've been discussing it with. And I know it's like how Tank has said, it can be felt all over the planet, everyone on the planet, and everyone is changing within them, and everyone is realizing this spiritual energy that we are all sons and daughters of the living creator that is within us. And it's time to recognize that with each other, with one another. And we're going to do that with our government, with the people in our government. And we will, it's no one else will come and help us. We will have to claim our own sovereignty. We will have to grow and realize this awareness that is always within us. And no longer the physical illusion will be separating us, and all the belief system and all the indoctrination, it will break, because now we realize that we're just simply just the same. And yeah, I'm thankful that now we have more than almost more than 2,000 people. This place is getting overcrowded, So we have to move. We have to move to a new venue to be able to which is part of what our budget is about, and to extend the awareness to not just the community and do the cleansing all over the country, but also working with government to repurpose and reevaluate the path that the government is taking right now, and give them, our prime minister. He always said that he wants Fiji to be united. He wants them to be just Fijians. All everyone has to be Fijians, no matter they're Indo-Fijians or they're from a different race. We all Fijians. And I told the chiefs today, we will give him the chance to prove what he said, and we'll help him do that, so that we will be able to heal. And yesterday I was mentioning that we will want to write everyone into the book of life, so that they can have land, and there's land allocation, or the asset can be allocated to them to represent their sovereignty. And it's a wonderful time in Fiji right now. It's not well known around the country, but Manna, the word Manna, the mobility funds that we'll be using, we will be visiting all the different districts, and we'll be cleansing the whole entire country, and we'll return them back to the creator, or back to the fifth element within them, and make them realize that the time of separation is coming to an end, and this is the time of joy as a unity, and joy as it's in the Bible they call it's a marriage supper of the Lamb, and it's a marriage supper, and everyone has to keep their light, burning, and that's what is happening all over the planet. We are uniting with our lost awareness of who we are, which is the sovereignty. It simply means that God, the sons and daughters of the living God. And I'm thankful that we are doing this podcast, and we're talking about it. We're sharing it with everyone now and everyone in the future. And as we walk towards, as we physically manifest it and accelerate it, because it will accelerate really fast within a few months, within a few years. And people will truly be able to get the chance to be free from the slavery system, from money, and from this from the system that has been enslaving them for a very long time. Yeah, so now 2,000 more people coming in. We're trying to get their records and trying to put systematically just try and solve the immediate need of their families, if they're not getting paid for the past 4 months, and they're trying to get something to actually try and feed them their families. So so that budget that came in that we put down for the project, this thing was not inside, so we'll have to we have to find a way to actually work and satisfy that or solve the problem, and we'll be able to talk with the government and be able to accelerate the changes that we're doing. So the good thing is they've realized and they've actually witnessed this in Parliament last night. So it's good. It comes from the mouth of the Attorney General. And he said that there are no more money coming in from the big banks, from the World Bank, from the IMF. Now we have the Secretary General of the United Nations visiting us in Fiji right now as we speak. And he was talking to the Parliament last night. And the message is they're still caught up in the illusions of the past of climate change and all these that they're trying to continue doing. But very soon we'll be able to set an example, and we'll be able to help them see what is truly happening, because they're trying to continue on with that agenda 21, agenda 30 something.
Yeah.
Agenda
21 became Agenda 2030.
Yeah, 2030. Yeah, so yeah, that's that's what's happening right now, and I wanted to go to the Parliament today to just go and visit them and talk with the ministers. If that would happen, it would be good. But if it won't happen, then I will be visiting the Parliament tomorrow to be able to, because if it comes from the Attorney General, from Fiji. Then before they were not they didn't want to put the news out. They didn't want to. They want to try and keep it in. They thought that it was something. There was just something wrong with the economy. But now they finally realized that the reliance of the government, of Fiji government, and the Fiji economy depends on the money that comes in. And now that it's not coming in, they are dried up. They are getting dry up. The currency is there's no more water in. It's no more water in the sea, so it's drying up.
Tui,
Yeah.
So in the parliament, did they mention anyone talk about the trust already?
No, they don't know. That's what we're gonna do with them, because that's part of what this project is about. We are going to initiate as soon as we start up and fund the funds. This will give us the chance to talk about it with them, because believe it or not, they just have no idea. I went yesterday and talked with them. They just don't know. Only the chiefs are aware of it. The governments have been blinded because they've been part of the banking system, and the banking system tried to hide this and try to keep it so that this is unknown, and because they're trying to save themselves. Yeah, but sooner or later they will realize the truth, just like what is happening everywhere and whatever is happening in the US, and we'll be able to work together to heal our own country. So it's not, it's nothing. It's a good thing that they don't know anything about it, so that we'll be able to, work together to unite our country. Because if they would have, known, there'll be still a lot of, a lot of separation between us. Now it will give us time to sit down and realize, that we're just human beings. We have families. We have love for our families and children. And because they've been wearing their hats, they think that they're all in control and all this. Now it gives them a chance to sit down and realize that they're just like normal people, and we'll be able to talk, in a same level, and we'll try and heal our country together with love and unity. And so, yeah, it's a very delicate situation, but we're really enjoying it, and it's going to be fun. We'll be talking and we'll be encouraging each other, and hope if it comes faster, it depends on on Kim and Tang's position on the mat, and then as soon as it starts, we will fulfill our role as what it's supposed as what our role is supposed to be. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. That's about it from Fiji.
Well, that's good. That's exciting to hear. Thank you, Tui.
Oh. Thank you.
All right. So Tank, do you have an update?
What I was told is that the system is restructuring, and Kim told me it was about 50% this morning, which doesn't necessarily mean it'll be one more day or 2 more days. It could be, another few days, 4 days, 5 days, who knows? Because there's always different obstacles that pop up, and sometimes some aspects of that will take longer. And then once that goes through, she did have a breakthrough the other day, so she knows, clearly the methodology. But when you synchronize and change an entire system, there's often little glitches that have to be just exercised from that system. So, but she's incredibly detailed and thorough. So, I highly suspect we're at that moment where everything is just, the spin is in our direction, and everything's coming together. And it's really a big sham right now, isn't it? I mean, isn't that kind of becoming obvious to everybody?
Well, just to hear that the Attorney General there in Fiji is now standing up and saying there's no more money coming from the big banks. So what? Right. So here's a question: why did the big banks have to provide them the money in the first place? What's the mechanism? What is the reason why? Right? What is that? What is it? was being banked on.
Well, we're gonna.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. So tell us.
Oh, no, just speaking because he asked a question about the system.
Yes.
It's just the way the original agreement was supposed to be. For it's how the unity has to be written and how people have returned to, from separation to get realization that deep inside them there is always unity, and the value of separation comes from from money and all this. It's just the way the system was designed in a way to cater for this unity when the time comes. And so, believe it or not, the banking system and all these things were designed in a way that it will program the mentality and the thought forms of the people that that are binded to it. That when the time comes when there's no money coming in, they will realize that the power outside of them is no longer is so that they will be able to look within. And it took thousands of years to design and to organize, but because it was it was separated, everything was separated, everyone had their own money, every country had their own banking system. But if that happened, the unity will never come to the planet. And so there's a reason why the Great White Throne and all these people did that, to be able to there's a much deeper reason, and everyone agrees on it. And so his agreement is very deep, and sometimes I don't like to talk about it now, but it will make sense in the future because of how the lessons and all this is all just what part of a big agreement that everyone agrees on. And so if it started out with all separation, and then they try to connect everything together so that nothing else is known, no other form of separation, and everyone is connected in a way, but still in a slave system. And then they dry up the blood or the life stream of that connection or the physical connection outside, which is money. And then everyone will, by the time they're already united because of that system. And so now they will figure out that it's just a different type of unity. It's no longer united in the value of the illusion outside of the body, but the source of value that is within us. That is the power that unite all of us. This was just designed to develop the intellect of the entire planet or the people, and so that was the only way that sovereignty can be returned, and people will be able to get connected to the source of life that is within them. And so it has progression, and it took this is the most fastest time is this 26,000 years. Anywhere else in a different timeline, it takes them millions and millions and billions of years to do this. And so in this timeline, it is good, and the feminine spirit agrees to the how you have the menstruation cycle, so that so that this can be accelerated in a way that people can live shorter lifetime, and they can learn much more lessons and much more separation, and then they will accelerate that awareness until they can grow towards unity. So it's a very deep, it's a very, it's multi-level lessons that has been learned for thousands of years. That's why we have the menstruation cycle. As soon as this healing happens, the menstruation cycle will have to be aligned properly. The planet has to be aligned properly, or the timeline has to be aligned properly, so that the agreement of creating a spiritual body here is supposed to be agreed only, but and not not the way like before. Because you can all the female or all the woman, they can control the menstruation cycle because it's part of the DNA agreement to accelerate this and have these 8 billion people, 9 billion people at this moment to enable this lesson to be learned. And so it's a very deep question that you've done, because you might think that it's a coincidence that the whole system of the planet is just one system, but there's a reason, much deeper reason, and it's truly clear that we can create our own money and we can create our own values, but to be able to retain the whole thing and unite people and unite as one, as the planet. And that's what the transition is all about. And it's been talked about in legends and in prophecies, but they just don't understand what it truly means. And they try to interpret and they try to force the interpretation of what they try to think or that it means, and they try to create it. And so they didn't understand when the prophecy are talking about firstborn, it's talking about the agreement of the planet. It's not talking about forcing the firstborn, and they try to create firstborn from all the sovereign, every sovereignty or every monarch on the planet to be able to create to control the asset. It's just talking about a different way, following the fifth element, and that's the reason why I am here talking to you about it, because there's a much deeper lesson, multi-level of lessons that has to be learned, and there's no judgment because we all agreed to this creation, and all we're doing right now is just changing the creation from the old one to the new one, and we will have to do it out of love because everyone has become victims in the last system. And now we will learn to become sovereign for the new system, and so yeah, that's just basically I try to put that into words, so just to be able to express the awareness of the Ra Confederacy and what it means to the DNA and everyone's soul agreement and everyone on the planet. And it's a wonderful time that we are in, that this realization is coming in a very, even though delicate way, but very powerful. Nothing will be able to stop it because it is what God is. So yeah, thank you, thank you, Dan.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Rhetorical question.
Yes, I know, but it's a very deep question that you just asked, and so that's why I jump in to try and just to clarify on it and discuss a little bit on it. Because there's no wrong, no right answers.
So part of the discussion would be, how much is this tied into the birth certificate creations that they trade to create currency?
Yes.
So I just wondered in Fiji, you have birth certificates. They're trading on those entities to create money for the central banks. So the central, they end up registering, to the Fed, or not directly, through another U.S. entity, which ends up putting them into the stock market.
Yes.
And they're traded on. So why is it they cannot get money now? They still have birth certificates. They still have. So what is it that the money is not flowing? Tank, do you have an answer?
That's the big questions that. That's the big question that our our parliamentarians and the people have right now, and so the understanding of the structure is very important to be able to just to know the source of where this money flows. I just explain how it works for thousands of years, and now that it's gone, they've been so reliant to the old system that they don't know what to do. They can't think outside of the box. They can't think outside of just that they don't really need it. But yeah, that's a good question. In Fiji, we have our own the Book of Life that everyone is registered to, or that everyone is binded to, and they're able to own their own land, and they have their tribe land, and then they have the individual part of the land that they own, and the government uses the Federal Reserve System because it's been implemented in the government for the past 30, 40 years, and so the certificate from the law of the land, they still take it up and they still use it as bond, and they still bring in this money as promissory note, and everyone all the children that are born are still they've been used as what's called this security. It's like the way you have social securities in the US. And over here, just like all the awareness and everyone that we've been talking with, and everyone understand that the trust don't want it anymore. and we don't want to keep people in the debt for eternity. So that's why such the US is the money is no longer coming in, and people are losing
Nope.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Do you have an answer, Tank?
So, yeah. So the answer, or the question being, why does Fiji have to go to the banks to bring money in? Is that what you mean?
Well, the why is it that they're not getting money? Their central bank is not getting money from the World Bank or IMF or any of the other systems out there. Why are they
Uh,
not getting money?
because all of the systems are used to gathering assets, submitting them, and then they get money. So basically, what they've been paid, they've been, all these central banks and governments, they've been pirates, right? They go out, they steal from the people, they take everything they have, right, and they turn it into the trust or the unknown country, the asset redemption program. They get money back, and they could do that for a long time until they registered all the assets. Now there's nothing left to put in. So the only option to get currency out is to accept the terms that are dictated by the trust. So nobody can get money because they continually bow down to ruthless, evil, criminal empires that are trying to kill them. And because they think that they are gods and they are willing, they're just so used to taking orders from them because the world is suffering from slave mentality. So we have to break those chains off people's necks, reconnect them to the reality, show them all of the things that are on the other side, not just on the wall or the shadow in the cave, right? To
Yeah.
show them the reality, the great stupendous, but it's activating that desire to even want to know that there's more, because we're so satisfied looking at the shadow and thinking that's all there is, that if we were to see the reality that's all around us, inside of us, emanating from every plant, every item, everything in the world, if we were just to connect with that and really allow ourselves to get comfortable, go through the stage where it's uncomfortable and it hurts and it's scary, and then just allow ourselves to settle into that vibration, we realize, oh my gosh, I have the freedom to be completely, utterly intoxicated with happiness and love and peace, and all that's possible. Now, who wouldn't want that? Who in their right mind wouldn't want that?
Well, I think you said it the other day, Stockholm syndrome. Those that are under the influence of Stockholm syndrome, where they want to, make excuses for their captors and go on the side of their captors, support their captors.
Well,
It's odd.
they've made it so the only people you can trust is the government, and so we've got it in our heads. Well, we know the government can do it, but how could you possibly trust the government if the only people that can win a real, a prominent seat in public office and maintain it are people that already have tons of money? Because nobody has had tons of money for generations if they're not part of this. Look, there's not a righteous family that found a way. No, there's not, because they would devour them. I'm sorry, it just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
All the families that have maintained real wealth for any amount of time, they are all part of the secret societies of the cabal. They bring them in, and they're part of it. Nobody else has.
Yeah, if you're not in it, they devour you. They will destroy you. They can't allow for competition, and it's worldwide. It's every country, every group they exist. So that's why getting to route them out means turning on the light and revealing everything, right? Because they can't operate in the light. So turning on the light. Well, I'm I'm very appreciative of the mission that we're on, and it's very enlightening to see things
It certainly
coming
is.
about.
It really is. And right now, watching what's happening, you know, I I'm sure you feel this way too, especially even this exercise of talking about this with this level of scrutiny every day. And, it's funny because somebody hit me up the other day and they're like, could you take a little constructive criticism? And I'm like, sure, of course. I love constructive criticism. And then they proceeded to tell me some things. So I started freaking out and yelling at them. No, I'm just kidding. No. So,
Are they still alive?
no, yeah. So no. But what they were saying is like, like because I was bringing guests on I was bringing the project owners on the Speak Project Radio, and what happened is I ended up talking, and really talking quite a bit about some things. And the reason why is the individual who came on is a very successful naturopath, right, and very well known in his circle, Dr. G, who didn't use his real name. But when he does something, he'll share it with people, right? He's really good about putting it out there, and he's got a big circle of connections, right? And so in this, it kind of became clear that he hadn't really been paying attention to me, right, and what we've been talking about, right? I mean, for the past year plus, right? Because I've known him for a few years actually, and so I took the time to go back in to explain to him live on the call, where I had his undivided attention, exactly what was happening. But not just that, but in this moment, because it's not that the message I'm sharing has changed so much, other than just an expansion on it, right? But at this point, in this moment, you could have said something to somebody a year ago, the exact same thing, and there was no way they could have heard it because
Right.
they were seeing too much evidence to the contrary.
Yeah.
And now
they didn't have
so
the
much has
eyes to see
changed.
or the ears to hear.
Right. And now a year and a half has gone by, and Kim has accomplished so much, and it's impossible to deny. I mean, we have absolute evidence across the board. I mean, just in talking to you, you have confirmed with with the Treasury and banks in Europe. I mean, that Kim's name is the one on the trust, and it is her who's in control of it. And those assets are held in the trust, and they're all the assets. So when you think about the power of that, right, it really speaks to like, wow, that's real evidence that supersedes all the other evidence. Because if that's true, then everything else and everyone else claiming to be that, it's not true, because when you go into the system, there's only one name there.
Right.
So even though I've said that 1,000 times, when you and all that, but Kim has been for a year and a half, she's put out an absolute, the SmackDown challenge, right? She's like, and as far as she's the 5-time SmackDown champion. She's like, look, you say that you're the ones, Chinese elders, Jesse Phibbs, whoever in the Philippines, whoever in Hong Kong, they all claim to be the one who has control, right? And all these guys are always stepping up like, well, I'm the new M1, I'm this, I'm that. Mr. and Mrs. M try to attack Kim and say, she's volatile to work with, and those accounts aren't even really hers. You know what? Prove it. Prove it. Get one of your CIA buddies to let Kim in on a terminal and show me she's not the one. Have them go in and let you look at the terminal and see if her name's not on it, because she has proved it over and over again. And you're not bringing in money from the galactic realm of, whatever, some slave nation in some ether world. It's just not happening. That right now, I mean, Tui has told us repeatedly, he's got the whole world on lockdown. The Galactics can't interfere. So if somebody tries to bring the Galactics, the Dark Galactics or whatever, in on this, they'll get all of them killed, because it's an app. I'm certain they cannot interfere, because if they interfere, we become slaves to a new set of Galactics, because we didn't free ourselves. So it's paramount to understand this same message. So what I was saying is, for me, anyways, right? It's not about ratings. It's not about the money. I can't. And believe me, it's not comfortable to do it this way, but I can't even allow myself to profit in any way off this, because if I do, then what happens is that, my integrity shot, right? And like so many others, like I turn a temporary position into a full-time job, right?
Right.
And that's not what I want to do. I want to move past this. So we have to move past this. That's where we're at. There's only one way out, and there is no money available any other way than the way that we're doing it. So so the real assets are held in one place. And in that one place, there is one person who's in charge of them. That one person is saying there will be absolutely no global currency reset, because if we allow the global currency reset with the knowledge that she has, which is it's not a global currency reset, it's a global reset of humanity where 90% of the population will be wiped out. And she knows that. So if she lets the global currency reset happen, she allows 90% of the population to get killed. So believe me when I say there is no amount of begging, no amount of negotiations, no amount of terms that will ever get her to say, you know what? Okay, we'll do it that way. We'll see if that works, because she's already done the work to see there's no way. There's no way. There's no way the money part works, and there's no way that we all don't die. So for your sake, as people are begging for the RV to happen and begging for our death, and believe me, I was in the process of filing the largest lawsuit in history against Wells Fargo, right? So believe me, I'm well aware of what it's like to be begging for my own death. I was guilty of it myself, and for everyone else, I just want to let you know, hey, let that go, because it's so much better to know that what you're doing is actually in line with your own best good, and go get imaginative, go read a book, go hug your children, go and find ways to connect with what you want to do, and then submit a project, and let's get you working, or come be part of someone else's project, and let's get you making a living again and participating in your life's purpose, versus spending another day hoping, well, maybe this is the time that what are you cheering for? You're cheering for them to, maybe this is the time that I have money for like 2 days, and then the whole world collapses as you're cheering, right? Because that's the whole GCR thing. Like, the economy has to collapse, and every time it goes to collapse, like a bunch of fools, we would all sit around going, "Yes, it's about to happen," right? And then he's going to announce Jasara thing. No, he's not. There's no bill in the world called Jasara. It does not exist in any paperwork, in any bank, in any country, in any government, nowhere. Nasara had to do with the farmers, and it literally, all that money was flushed by the Rothschilds. They stole it, and it disappeared. So every time they say they're bringing it down or doing this and the other thing, all they're doing is moving numbers on a computer. I mean, literally, I could do the same thing. This is the scam they're running, because their scam was to kill you, right? And it's tough. Dan, for me, I feel like at this point, my only frustration, because I feel I'm so confident in where we're at, and what we're doing, and how important this is. I mean, this is the pinnacle moment where the entire world changes. I mean, everything changes because of this. Everything in the world is made available. All opportunities open up. The energetic shift on the planet, when money is really made available. I know some people will be heartbroken, but that'll last just for a minute. And everything can change, and everything can change. And we all want it to change. And none of us want anybody who's been in charge of any kind of money to ever be in charge again. So for that to happen, the shift has got to be the people first. The money has got to go in through the people, and with people who actually understand what's going on. And then those people have got to have very specific short-term plans, long-term plans, and not to say that there's no, all of these plans, we won't plan like the cabal. The plan with the cabal is, here is my executive business plan, here is my summary, I will do these exact things. That's what they do, right? And then they never deviate from their plan. So when the environment adjusts, they can't adjust to it. That's why now they're getting, pummeled, and they can't understand why. They keep doing the same thing. They're like, this used to always work. Why won't it work? But they can't make it work because there's nothing there. They keep trying to put assets into a system that they don't have control of, assets that they don't legally have ownership of. So whenever they bring those assets into the system is like, these are already in the system. So get out of here. I'm not giving you money back, because that isn't real. Like, that money's already here. That gold is already here. And it doesn't matter what system they use. It doesn't matter. You know what? I realize, Dan, it doesn't even matter if they use Bitcoin, if they use, crypto ninja donkey coins. It doesn't matter. All of those things, if they have an electronic signature of any kind, they will be mapped and they will be obsolete. They won't work, because that they're trying to do it that way. And because they're trying to do it that way, they will never, ever, ever win. And at this point, I don't know how anybody's watching and not going, oh my God, these guys don't know what the heaven they're doing. Every single move they make is they're never successful. When does, the reign of terror, where they just everything they do, everything they touch turns to gold, and they can, kill people with their mind. When does that wear off? I mean, how many times do they have to fail before we say, wait a minute, you guys aren't all that? Now, granted, I get it. They're still killing people, right? But those people that they're killing, for the most part, they're in that field of fear, right? They're still there. That's why they're getting killed, because they let them, because ultimately they're vulnerable to it, right? They're exposing themselves to a dark element and letting themselves be controlled by the fear. But you could take ownership of you and just be strong and be brave, and not even be brave, just be yourself, your incredible, magnificent, powerful self. And that all by itself is enough. But we want to be sheepish. We want to apologize. My one son, every time, he's always, oh, Dad, I'm sorry. But and I'm always like, stop saying you're sorry, because you're making that a reality. And by keep apologizing, I'm sorry. What happens is you start acting sorry, and that it is sorry. And then you become a sad, sorry sack of what? Of apologies for things that aren't even, you don't need to apologize for, and so I'm always like, we're always working on it. And he's good. Like, he gets it, But, our words, our actions, our mentality, they cannot beat us. They cannot beat us. There is nothing that they possess that is even close to what we have inside of us. And if we would just activate, wake up, and realize that all of our power is in our awareness of our power. And instead of getting pouty, like, when's the money coming in? Look, the money's coming in. And the more we do to recognize right now, what are we doing right now today? Let me tell you something. I have been battling for a few years now with almost nothing. Almost nothing. I started talking to, I was on a little radio show today this afternoon, and she asked me, what site do they go to? I said, well, they can go to speakproradio.com, because they can listen to the show. She goes, oh, I thought it was the speakproject.net. I said, well, no, that site serves a different purpose, but it's the same family of work. But we put essential documents out there, and that's a running blog to tell the story of what's been happening. And then I told them, well, you can also go to the Speak Project YouTube page, where you can see the other videos. We have hundreds of videos out there, clips, 5-minute clips, 10-minute clips, 2 hours of in some cases, explaining this whole process, giving great details, visuals, explaining all these perspectives that no one else is. Then I was like, oh, and then there's a createchange.today site where, you can see all these incredible people, where we've had an entire university built for us by Hubert Rampersand, a professor from Harvard University, who's published 55 plus books on various aspects of economics, and has been an advisor to all types of politicians and governments on, various kinds of universal economics, right? And by the way, and he did all that for us because he read the Green Lantern theory, which is, like a 3-page document. And after writing 55 books, he read that and said, I love this. And he created an entire, he took my vision of a university and created the entire thing in this incredible online platform. It'll be accredited in about a year and a half, but it's already registered, and it's already legal in Holland as well. So you can go to Create Change today and see that happen.
Amazing.
You can see on the Guardian of Camelot, or gocamelot.com, that we have created the entire layout to create a unincorporated, tax-exempt association it's filled with an entire operating system where people can go in and they can set up a trust, where it used to cost people thousands of dollars to do trust. For a few $100, we're letting people set up their trust, and we negotiated terms where we have people working for us virtually for free, right? Lawyers, by the way, to do this. And they're doing it because they believe in the cause, right? And from there, once you join in that association, we created an entire project network so that everybody can come in, right, who has a project, and people who want to work with the projects, and vendors who want to sell, their services to that project, right? in a prepared market, a completely safe environment where everybody has had a criminal background check, where every single person has had a trust set up, and I have interviewed every single person personally. We have an entire network of incredible technology that some people haven't even heard of. You have incredible projects that are going to help people all over the world, all contained in that one little creators network. Now, every one of those things, I started every one of them myself. Every one of those came from me. Every one of them. I have done it with nothing. I have done it with nothing. So I'm telling you, anybody out there who wants to tell me that they need the money to come in first, believe me when I tell you this, you are talking to the wrong person.
Well, I hear you. You can do a lot with very little. So you just need to be focused on it.
That's right.
So, no, I actually wouldn't even ask for funds on the site, except it is my only money coming in. And right now, I have since I left the states, and I had the businesses all shut down while I'm on this mission. I lost, all the banking. Because when I went to go meet with Swisindo, they just pulled the plug. All of my business accounts shut down. And then I switched all to cryptocurrency. And, so I made funds by way of creating a currency. Well, creating the idea of how we're going to, move forward in a place where we're making abundance-based decisions. Right. And then people join in, and then there was a revenue model. But at this point, since I've been focused on this for the last 3 months, exclusively, there is no other funds coming in for me. So I've actually just survived with collecting on debt from others, and even borrowing from others. And I'm not making enough. But I'm still doing this. I'm still doing this because I think this is very important. This is more important. There's more important. Temporary. If I stopped and went and did some other thing, I could be making, $100,000 in a month very easily. But that's not important. What's important is actually completing this, moving to where we need to go to get to the place where we all can be abundant. That's what's important. The energy that comes in here through everyone that's participating. When Tui coming in and jumping in with reports from Fiji, and what's the importance of what's happening there.
It's amazing.
It's only totally amazing. Indeed, it's amazing.
Indeed, yes.
I appreciate, Tank, everything that you've been doing and building, and I see it. And I see how things that I've been working on will come into piece into the things that you've been working on. There's others that are coming in. And by the way, there is something that I need to speak with you about off the air. There is a terminal available.
Yes, I received the message as well. I already passed it on. Yeah, we're good. Right. I got it.
All right. I just want to make sure.
Well, I think it's funny. It took all this time publicly explaining, soliciting, teaching, repeating over and over again for the past year and a half, right? And it's just about a year and a half right now, like today. And that I've literally dedicated every waking minute to doing this, right? And I was doing it before then, but let's say on the right path. but it's amazing that now there's multiple people stepping up with these things, right? And it's I hate to say it, but it's in some cases it's kind of unfortunate because the the corruption is so deep, and the ignorance really is so deep that it's very, very difficult to just say, okay, we're going to use the terminal to transfer money here or there, because we know how much corruption is surrounding every one of these things. And they take things and then they complicate it with trade platforms and what they're going to do. And everybody thinks that their system is unbreakable, right? And this is what happens. So the problem is that the bad guys never honor their agreements. Never. They won't ever do what they say. So, and it's not even, they've been given so many opportunities just to honor their agreements, and they have no conscience. Because if you think about it, you have people that are, like, who doesn't want disaster relief victims to get some kind of help? And I'm telling you, this is absolutely a fact. Like, this happened here in New York. Like, Kim brought in $105 billion, made special cards, right? Like special types of debit cards to transfer the money to a different bank to bring that money in, of all asset-backed allocated resources. And they were met by the Citadel, which is a group of mercenaries controlled completely by the NYPD. And they blocked money that would have completely restored not the life loss, but definitely the property damage, and would have helped the people that are there, and along the Gulf Coast, the 1.2 million people that are still homeless, and the poor grieving families in Paradise, California, who like literally had to watch people they knew and loved be vaporized in their car, knowing there's no way that can physically happen in a wildfire. There's no wildfire that shows up and melts a car at 20,000 degrees, but doesn't touch the trees. I mean, unless the trees went rogue, right? And they were like, we're sick of cars being in here.
Yeah, we're out of here with fire.
Yeah. Like, the trees are going crazy. It's a wildfire. They're all turning against the people because there's no. And now, this is what they've done. So even with this young lady in the situation there now, I do know, I know who has the terminal on, and I'm familiar, right? And she is very together, and I agree. But they've already had interaction with this group who is rogue, right? Who wants to kill everybody. So this is why I say it slows down the recovery of the entire world, because they refused to just cooperate. They could have just moved on. They could have just done something else, but now they can't. See, now they can't, because there's no negotiations left. And even now in this diminished state, I'm telling you, there is just no way. It is either our way or no way. And it's not to hold people hostage, because people are going to pipe up, right? They're going to start, because I've had this. I've had people attack me for, saying that, like, when we made $1 million available for people, right, to like go out and start setting up their organization, and we put out this $1 million. We were trying to do that, to put it out there, and said, look, just go find a bank that has a terminal, right? And that's what this person wants to do. They have a terminal. Now, a year ago, we started this back in April, back in April. So for a year and 2 months, we've been to every bank, every place, begged them, explained to them, asked them just to do a proper background check, just run an OFAC report, just run it through the proper channels, just do your job.
Yeah.
And they refused. So because all these banks took a stand against the people, they all took a stand. They all chose the lie. They were presented with the truth and the lie. They were presented with life or death, and they chose death over and over and over again. So now you can't just take the money and say, okay, we're going to throw the money out there to everybody. Everybody gets some, because we know what will happen. People don't understand, so they'll keep choosing death. They'll keep doing it the way they think it should be done. And that's the problem. So what we have to do instead is, it will slow down. I mean, inevitably, it's going to slow down the process. We have to bring the money out now to people that we know understand. We are only building with people in this network, right? And it's not to control the world the way they did, because we're giving ownership to those people, right? We're not taking ownership and control of it.
It's just the seed.
right?
It's
Like,
seed
but
money.
well, it's not even just the seed money. It's we're giving real money to people. We're going to give people real money to do stuff, but we're telling them you have to use vendors that are in this network who agree to operate this way. We have to build things from the ground up because we're not going to refuel our enemy. Their factories are poison. They're poison with the mentality that they poison the people with. And in some cases, they're actually poison, right? They're creating poison to put in our water. So,
Yeah.
you know what we'll do? We'll create atmospheric water generators. We won't use their water. We'll make whole new housing communities that pull water directly from the atmosphere, and we'll make their whole system they built obsolete.
Yeah.
We'll make their whole everything they do. We now have a very clear mission, and we control the assets. So because of that, we can make the world brand new. And the only option, really, for anybody, to be honest, is to go along with that or starve and suffer. But we don't want anybody to suffer. There's no reason for that. And it's not because it's not a power play. It's because everyone is eating rat poison and thinking it's brownies, right? So if everyone was doing that, the only responsible thing to do is to eliminate that poison for you so you can stop being in whatever the trance is that's causing that for you, right? Or
Just
for
make
them,
a better brownie.
Well, exactly right. Or like actually show them like what you're eating is rat poison. Here, taste this and tell me if it's the same. And then when you taste a brownie, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? And then you're like, what have I been eating? I thought that was brownies, right? But it was rat poison. That is how drastic these two realities are of what
You
you're
know,
seeing played out right in front of you. That's what's happening right now. And the only option, right, that is in your best interest. Because if we see it and if you see it, do not be quiet. Do not sit on the fence. It's you just assume be on their side as far as I'm concerned and be on the fence because I have given you. I mean, Thomas Williams has given you such in-depth examples, play by play every week. You know what's going on, telling you all the things behind the scenes. And let me tell you something. Everything he said has happened. He's giving you real reports. I've given you the same reports. The same reports. And sometimes I'll get him a couple days sooner just because he shows only on Thursday. We've been giving you nonstop, accurate reports of what's going on in the world for a year and a half for the first time in this entire intel nonsense. And no one else can say that. I'm sorry, nobody.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are out there that want to share the limelight. They want to, say, well, okay, we could do it together, right? Because they can't do it themselves. But they want to still put themselves as still being in that position. I don't want to name names, but I said I don't know anyone else that's been able to pull down funds, no matter whatever else is said and talked about for years upon years. That it doesn't happen on the other side. So let's figure out what's working and go with it.
Listen, I'll tell you, I very respectfully and politely addressed what is it, Cindy K. Courier. She created another YouTube video that said "Attention Dank," right?
Oh my goodness, I didn't know.
So there's something to that effect, right? And I just want to say this about that. I went directly to the video because someone sent it to me. I responded directly underneath the video immediately. And I did ask her to please, if you want to discuss business with me and your concern is getting projects funded, then you can email me and we can discuss it and I can tell you about the process and I can explain how that works. I think what she was saying is that somehow, she made it seem like I was going to submit projects to her. And let me be clear about that. And I think I was pretty clear. I am not looking for funding from anyone. There is no one out there who can tempt me, entice me, or persuade me to think that they have something that I don't already have. There is no one else on this planet that can do what has already been done, there is no one who can bring funds down in reality on this level, in this amount to change the world than Kim Gogan and the Manna World Holding Trust. Anyone who is of the opinion that they have some control because they have some incredible connection with someone they think is the real elders, the real boss, the Indonesian elders, the Malaysian elders, the Chinese elders, the Austrian elders, every one of them have had ample and repeated opportunities to access these funds and bring them down. And all of them have also gone into the vaults where they had money, they had gold, and it is not there anymore because it was not theirs. It was registered to the trust, and the trust put it back where it belongs. So we can continue to argue about things that are easily proved right or wrong. You can go in and show, look, see, you're wrong, or look, I'm right, one or the other. And over again, it keeps happening that I'm proved right about this. And not only that, Dan's proved it with real sources at the Treasury, really high level. I mean, like perfect sources. That doesn't mention, so I'm not going to. But from Europe, I mean, like if you knew what the sources were, you wouldn't even question this. I don't think. Real sources I've confirmed with the CIA. Real sources like the top level designer of the banking system, I've confirmed it with directly. So you don't have any sources that are better than mine. Nobody. I mean, Thomas, maybe Thomas, Kim, like, but there's nobody who's out there actually in this talking on our level. Nobody. And to be honest, before there wasn't many people who did. So that would actually share information, right? What they would do is they'd keep their secrets. Anybody who's out there talking about, well, we can't talk about that right now. It's operational. Well, not operational because that's, I don't want to, that wasn't a jab at Thomas because Thomas does say that. That is true. But anybody who's out there like really keeping secret, because Thomas will come back out the very next week and tell you what happened. But these guys are out there, they're always keeping secrets like, well, and they speak in the CIA code language, right? Where it seems like they said something, you think you got some intel, but you don't really understand what just happened. All that stuff. They don't know anything. And I'll tell you what, any of you guys out there in the intelligence world, your super secret source, bring it on. Come on my show. Call me. I'm available everywhere. I'm the easiest person on the planet to contact. If you've got something better than what I've got, prove it. Prove it to my face. Because every one of these people that have run their mouth about me, I have gone to their chat rooms. I've gone to their platform. I have gone to them directly to address the issue. I go to their platform. I invite them wherever I am. I say, you can call me directly. We can deal with it on the air if you want. But the difference is what they want to do is they want to posture themselves as if they're important. They want to do it to get their, like, look at me. I'm so important. I'm so knowledgeable of this. Believe me when I tell you this. The last thing I want to do is this. I have no desire to be out here in public like this. I put my family at risk, my children at risk, my own life at risk every single day to try to liberate humanity. I was on the call 3 days ago and literally, plainclothes cops, in an unmarked car, paid mercenaries in all likelihood. All of a sudden, my call drops. My whole service is gone. I couldn't even call somebody if I wanted to. If they were to pull a gun on me, I couldn't even have called the cops myself because my whole service dropped. And in that exact moment, I get pulled out of the car, searched, grabbed, ransacked my car, went through all my stuff, took my laundry for my kids, and came back to me and said, what are all these? Tried to make some, insinuation that I was part of something shady, trying to harass me to scare me. I'm saying, while they are wasting everyone's time, getting up, talking about nothing, showing Bill Nye, the science guy.
Oh yeah,
Bill
I saw
Nye,
that.
Yeah, he goes and he says something idiotic, right?
Yeah.
He's like, the world's on fire, and he lights it up. He starts dropping F-bombs, right? And then Kamala Harris is like, see, what do you think now? It's like, just because you say something loud doesn't make it more true.
Right.
We're not dogs. We don't jump when you yell. We're not idiots. We're not cowards. We are not afraid of anything you're doing. You cannot beat us. Now, everybody has got to take that stance. And I mean, specifically, there's people on this call right this minute who, who know somebody right now. They were told to come on and get information from this call so they could, use it against us and try to make it portray us some other way, find out what's going on there and spy on us. Go back and switch sides. Switch sides. Because you're working for the wrong people. If you are against what we're doing, I'll tell you, you can go back to everything I have ever said publicly, and there is about 1,000 different conference calls, videos, things I've done. You go out there, and I bet you can't find a word that I say. You can't find anything. You won't find anything of any substance or value that could ever prove that what I'm saying, that I am not within my integrity, that I am not fighting for the people. Now, what are you doing if you're not with us? Because we're fighting for the people. So if you're not with us, who are you fighting for?
Yeah, that Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, man, I know.
They're on that team, and they don't, they go through their life and all these bad things that happen to them. They're in jobs they don't want to be in. They're doing things against other people, thinking that it's all for the good, right? But in the background, they know there's something quite wrong, right? There's something that's didn't quite add up. Just like when I was just dealing with the GCR in the beginning. I'm trying to figure it out from the very first time that these things popped up, right? And they just did not make any sense, And I said, listen, but I see everyone involved, all the people I know. These are serious people. They're not, people out there trying to do things that are, trying to, participate in some sort of scam across the world. These people are seriously wanting to do good things in the world, but it didn't add up. The numbers were the big thing. They just never made any sense. I made my guesses as to what could be actually going, what the ultimate plan that no one has revealed, might be as to why it might work. But it always didn't make any sense from that standpoint. But Tank, what I said before you got on, and I was kind of going over this in the beginning. I went over the GCR and how we got started with this. I kind of did a big review, and I was saying, this didn't make any sense, from the very beginning. And what started to fall into place was the things that was aligning with what Thomas was saying from his broadcast. And then I could start aligning that information up. And I said, this is something that I needed to, be aware of. I mean, I was aware that there might be something behind the scenes that was wrong. I was always questioning it all the way along. I never was 100% behind that there's no bad players. But I always thought, well, maybe there's this battle between the good side and the bad side, right? The white hats versus the black hats, and we're pushing for the white hats, and I'm dealing with white hats, right? I'm dealing with the good people, and so why is it not the white hats winning? But ultimately, the one thing that I wasn't drawing the connection that you painted was that this was directly tied to the depopulation, to the destruction of the whole economy. Because according to the plan on the GCR is the economy was destroying itself anyway. It was gone. This was to be the replacement. So now I don't ever think that there has to be a complete loss on everyone's part. The whole thing collapses. I don't think that has to happen, and it shouldn't happen. It would be the worst thing for it all to stop for 2 weeks. If the grid goes down, it doesn't take 2 weeks to come back up. The grid goes down, it takes 2 years for it to come back up. It's not something they flip a switch. If it goes down, it doesn't come back up like that. So It's not something we want, and we don't have to have that. And I no longer think that. But that's kind of one, I guess, one of those things is like if you're in that camp and you think the GCR is going to come down, it's like, well, this, the economy collapses and then we have all the money to move and build a new one. But it doesn't happen that way. Because if it goes down, it just doesn't come back up. In fact, electricity goes down. How are you going to access all those ones and zeros that are in your accounts? I'm sorry, the computer's down. We can't give you any money today. But I've got 12 trillion in this account.
Right.
All right, ATM doesn't work either.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, well. Anyway, well, we're approaching the third hour. Anything else we should cover?
I haven't even looked at the news even today. I don't even know what's going on at the moment, to be honest. Like I haven't even looked at Twitter or anything else. I just feel like there's I'm reporting on is the energy right now. There is just an incredible, amazing energy in the air. I know, that success is already accomplished. The only thing keeping us from that is time, and time is just an illusion that postpones the things which have already occurred. And we're just watching that play out. We've slowed it down. It's something that we chose to be a part of, and decided that we wanted to make these last agonizing moments, the opportunity for us to wake up and give, and be here. I guess that's all I can think of. So I'm about it. I believe I really pray that the time is out tomorrow. But I have to be honest. I really don't know. I don't know when this restructuring started, and I don't know when it will complete. Exactly. I don't know the exact timing, so I'm not sure when that'll be. That could be tomorrow. It could be another week. 2 weeks. I really don't know. Which I've always hated that. I don't think that we have to hide that much, because if we've done all the right things, to be honest, there should be a complete and absolute surrender from the other side right now. They should be begging us to work.
Yeah, they need to bring up the money. Well, it looks like you got muted, so you might get a call coming in. That happens. There is a question here from someone saying, "Do you have?" Penny Curry is asking, "Have you heard of William Mount?" So, anyway, I have not, but I don't know if Tank will be able to respond. He's gone. I think has a call that came in and knocked him into mute. Well, I'll scroll back, see if there's any more questions. I'm just looking for the queue. So if you had a question and didn't put a queue, I'm probably going to miss it because I'm only looking for the queues. Queue meaning question. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that was sorry. I got pulled off by one of our people who called to tell, like, who must not have known I was broadcasting, and she said that there's an article out right now, and Christine Lagarde from the IMF is trying to take credit for everything that Kim's done.
Oh, that's a good one. Do you have the article?
I don't, but Dan, I'll tell you what, your guy from the Philippines, it's with the paper, it's really time to start writing articles about this and start having a conversation. I'll send over some documents for him that'll ease him into the proof.
Sure.
Like if he wants it, like, but we need to start getting this out.
If you want, I can bring him on and we can talk about it. Maybe not today. We can start with that tomorrow after you get on. We'll try and schedule the timing.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's a solid connection. The one thing I hate when we're trying to communicate and it's a bad connection. Now, something happened today because I've been on calls for 4 hours straight broadcasting live, and I have not had a single issue. They have not bumped me off anywhere, which is amazing. Now, my theory on that is that if Kim synchronized and restructured the system, that she's done it in such a way that would, you know, the nonsense they've been playing trying to hurt us is no longer possible. So that's my my personal belief on that. Now, that's not based on anything Kim has told me at this moment, but like I said, I do have a pretty good feel on those things. So that's so so yeah, man. Let's bring them on. Let's start getting this message out. Let's
Okay.
start promoting. Let's start taking over the newspapers and the media stations. Let's get people to stand up with integrity. Let's get all the fraudulent losers out of the government, and let's just start doing the right thing. Everybody, let's just find a way. Find a way, please. You know what? If I can do the things I've done, and Dan can do, it's an incredible thing, by the way. And I don't want to make light of it, Dan. Thank you so much for doing what you have done. You have connected the world in this little venue of you and me fumbling through this, and it has been profound. These messages will be historic. They have helped inform levels and branches of what's going out there, because if we would have done 5 in a row or 10 in a row, 20 in a row, it wouldn't have had the same impact. What happened is we have overwhelmed them with our consistency.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, they can try to stop it all they want. You can't stop them all from getting out, because we just keep on coming like the current in the river. You can't stop it. So I can't, and I know Dan is taking a great loss, by the way. Everyone out there, I don't, he had a business that he ran here.
And then take his gun. That's a place to be taken out. Well, you know what? I am very honored and very thankful for this opportunity to do what I did with you here. And this only came about because I took action. I stood up and I reached out to Tank, and then he stood up and took action, and we did a broadcast, and then we did another, and that we did 2 weeks, and then we did continued now on for 3 months. So I really appreciate that this is what needs to get done, and it is a very important time in the world, and that's why we take this effort. When we're talking to the people in the GCR right now, everyone that's waiting around, listen, I know what you're going through. I know what you've been expecting. I know all the things that you've been waiting for to happen. I've been there. I've been through it. Believe me, I'm on the side of the super quadrillionaire, right? So I know what's on the other side. I'm not sitting about buying currencies in the side from a dealer and then wait and just sit around. No, I took action. I went to the places. I've been there in the middle of all of this. Right? I've been to China, Thailand, Laos, Philippines, Sri Lanka, so Hong Kong, China. This is. I went and got involved. I was 100% in to do it. Get it. You guys been sitting on the side, looking at what's going on, and now you're watching what we're doing. Right? Get involved. Take action. I think that's a good place to break. Thank you all for participation. Please subscribe and share. Give the thumbs up, the likes. It makes it. We're at 91 likes, 176 watching right now. Seems like we're hitting around 200 now. So just multiply that times 15, and that's probably about the right number where we're actually hitting from previous evidence. Thank you all for participating in the super chat. Thanks for all of you that are joining in the Where We Go On. We Go All.love website, and any of also the chat rooms in Telegram. Appreciate everything you're doing and the information you're providing. We will streamline this to pump that information into the WWG1WGA.love site and get that as a good medium of to organize information. So when you want to bring people in, you can say, "Oh, about that subject. Oh, boom, find it, and this is what this is about." And that's my goal there. Anyway, I appreciate everything, and we will catch everyone tomorrow. Bye-bye.